In African spirituality, death is not the end. It is a sacred transformation. Across the continent, from the rainforests of the Congo to the savannas of Mali, the dead are not seen as gone. Instead, they become living ancestors, powerful spirits who watch over the family, guide the living, and demand honor. The African worldview holds that there are three levels of existence: the unborn, the living, and the ancestors. All three coexist in a sacred web, bound by blood, ritual, and memory. The term the living dead is not a horror trope in Africa. It's a divine truth. Ancestors are considered more powerful after death than they ever were in life. They can intercede with the gods, bring fortune or famine, protect or punish. They are not forgotten shadows, but active participants in everyday African life. Their names are called in libations. Their spirits are fed. Their stories are told to the children. To forget them is to invite misfortune. To honor them is to guarantee blessings. Among the Yoruba, the Egungun masquerade is not a performance. It is a spiritual resurrection. When the masked dancers enter the village, people fall to their knees, not in fear, but in reverence. They believe the spirits of their forefathers walk among them once again. In Igbo land, kola nuts are broken before the ancestors, and no important decision is made without invoking the Ndichi. In Ghana, ancestral stools are not just furniture, they are thrones of the dead, pulsing with sacred energy. This veneration isn't superstition, it's spiritual science. Africans have long believed that the energy of a person, especially one who lived well, remains accessible. This belief system predates Christianity and Islam, and it survived centuries of colonial erasure and missionary demonization. To this day, millions across the continent and the diaspora still pour libations, hold ancestral feasts, and keep shrines in their homes. Why? Because they know the ancestors are listening. What does it mean to live in a world where your dead never leave you? In Africa, it means accountability, continuity, and an ever-present connection to those who came before. It means every action echoes through the spiritual realm. In honoring the dead, Africans ensure that the past lives on, and the present is never alone. In African spirituality, the dead are not summoned at random. They are invited through sacred rituals that act as spiritual keys, opening portals between the physical and ancestral realms. These rituals are not mere customs. They are precise, ancient technologies rooted in thousands of years of spiritual science. Across Africa, each culture has its own method, but they all serve one purpose: to make the invisible visible. Libation is often the first step. It begins with water or palm wine poured gently onto the ground as prayers are whispered. But this simple act is profound. It signals that the living remember. As the liquid touches the earth, it seeps into the domain of the ancestors. Names of the dead are spoken aloud, not mournfully but with pride. In Akan belief, the pouring of libation is a direct line of communication to the Nananum Nsamanfo, the revered spirits of the lineage. Without this ritual, no gathering, negotiation, or ceremony holds spiritual weight. In other traditions, music and dance are the gateway. Among the Dogon of Mali, rhythmic drumming is more than entertainment. It's a language the ancestors understand. Masks and chants are used to align the physical with the metaphysical. In the Yoruba world, the appearance of the Egungun is a full spiritual invocation. As the dancers twirl, their costumes flowing like wind-blown spirits, the villagers believe they are witnessing the very souls of their ancestors return in full presence. Sacrifices, whether of kola nut, chicken, or goat, are also common in ancestral veneration. Contrary to Western misconceptions, these are not acts of bloodlust but spiritual offerings. The idea is that the ancestors require energy to manifest. This energy can be transferred through food, fire, prayer, and even breath. The Igbo pour palm oil on the ground, offer cooked meals at shrines, and invite their Ndichi to partake. The Fulani whisper blessings over bowls of milk offered to the departed. Every culture gives what is sacred to them. Timing matters. Rituals are often held on specific days, death anniversaries, market days, or full moons. Certain months are considered thin veils between the worlds, especially after harvests, when the ancestors are thanked for fertility and abundance. These windows are believed to be spiritually open, allowing communication and blessings to flow more easily. To the untrained eye, these look like festivals, but for the initiated, they are sacred summits between the living and the dead. When African ancestors are invited back, they don't merely arrive, they descend with purpose. Their arrival is felt in the sudden wind, the flicker of the fire, the trembling of the ground. They bring messages, warnings, healings, or even justice. These rituals are not performances. They are calls to those who still walk beside us, and when done properly, the ancestors answer. In Africa, ancestral worship is not confined to abstract beliefs. It is deeply embedded in the physical world. The dead are honored through tangible symbols, shrines, and sacred spaces, places where the realms of the living and the departed coexist. These locations are not merely ceremonial. They are sanctified grounds where the spiritual energy of the ancestors resides, offering protection, guidance, and blessings. Across the continent, the most sacred symbol in ancestral worship is the shrine. Shrines are not just places for offerings. They are powerful conduits where the ancestors' presence is felt most intensely. In Igbo culture, the Ala, earth, is seen as the first shrine, the place where the ancestors' spirits dwell. Every home often has an ancestral altar, carefully arranged with personal items of the deceased, beads, photographs, relics, and food. These shrines are tended with utmost care because they are believed to be directly connected to the spirit world. The placement of an altar in a home is done after consulting elders, ensuring it faces the right direction to connect with the ancestral realm. The Yoruba, known for their rich spiritual culture, have orun, sacred spaces designed to invite ancestral spirits into their lives. The sacred groves of the Yoruba, such as those dedicated to the revered Ogun, the god of iron, also serve as spaces for ancestral worship. These groves are not just nature reserves but spiritual powerhouses. Within these groves, the Yoruba believe the ancestors roam freely, communicating with the living, bringing wisdom and dispensing justice. When entering these spaces, practitioners follow specific rituals to maintain respect and avoid angering the spirits. For the Akan people, the Abusua ancestral stools hold enormous spiritual power. These stools are not merely decorative. They are considered the earthly embodiment of the ancestors themselves. Only the highest-ranking members of the family sit on the stools, as it is believed that when they do, they receive direct wisdom from their forebears. The stools are passed down through generations, and it is said that each one carries the memories, desires, and wisdom of those who have sat before. During important ceremonies, the stools are washed and revered as they hold the power to bless the people or curse them if not properly honored. In southern Africa, the San people create intricate rock paintings and carvings to honor their ancestors. These symbols are not just artistic expressions but spiritual codes, meant to convey messages from the ancestors to the living. These sacred symbols are often used in healing rituals, divination, and hunting rites. The paintings are thought to be portals themselves, windows through which the ancestors' spirits can communicate with the living. These sacred spaces are not just places for solitary reflection. They are the heartbeats of the community. Ancestors are called to the family's gathering place, where the living and the dead engage in ritual meals, shared stories, and collective prayers. In many African cultures, the entire village is considered a living, breathing shrine to the ancestors. Every tree, river, and mountain has a story and a connection to the spirits. It is said that the spirits of the ancestors live on in the land itself, guiding, protecting, and shaping the fate of their people. Through symbols, shrines, and sacred spaces, African cultures maintain an enduring relationship with the past. The dead are not isolated, abstract figures in a distant afterlife. They are interwoven into the fabric of daily life, as much a part of the present as the living. This communion with the past ensures continuity, stability, and spiritual strength, bridging time and space to ensure the ancestors' voices are never silenced. African ancestors don't just linger in silence, they speak, and when they do, it is often sudden, mysterious, and unignorable. Across Africa, their voices are heard through possession, dreams, visions, and signs encoded in nature. These communications are not imagined, they are sacred transmissions. The African spiritual world is built on the conviction that the ancestors never stopped speaking. We just stopped listening. One of the most dramatic forms of ancestral communication is spiritual possession. During rituals, ceremonies, or trance dances, the ancestor may enter the body of a living person, often a priest, a chosen medium, or even an unsuspecting villager. Their voice changes, their behavior shifts, they speak in ancestral dialects. Sometimes they walk and move like the departed. In Yoruba land, when an Egungun possesses a dancer, that dancer becomes the ancestor. Questions are asked, blessings and warnings are given, justice is delivered. These possessions are not seen as demonic, they are divine encounters between generations. But the ancestors also whisper when the world is quiet. In dreams. Across African traditions, dreams are sacred portals. They are the nighttime paths where the ancestors come walking. In the Akan tradition, dreams involving the dead are interpreted by elders and diviners. A dream of a smiling ancestor may mean approval. A crying one could mean neglect. A warning could save a life. In Igbo cosmology, dreams are not private, they're communal messages. If a family member dreams of an ancestor calling, the entire family listens, because the dream could mean something for everyone. Beyond dreams, the ancestors send omens and signs in the natural world. A sudden gust of wind during a libation, an owl crying in the night, a lizard entering the home during a ritual. In many African cultures, these are not coincidences. They are coded messages. Elders and diviners are trained to interpret them. The Ewe of Ghana believe ancestors may speak through the elements, lightning, water, or earth tremors. A broken pot during a ritual may be a sign of spiritual imbalance. A hawk circling over a gathering may mean an ancestor has arrived. Everything in the universe is considered part of the ancestral communication network. There are also divinatory systems designed to translate these messages with precision. The Yoruba have Ifa, a sacred system where priests use palm nuts or cowries to access ancestral knowledge through the Orunmila spirit. The Daara people use throwing bones to consult the spirits. The Zulu use water bowls and mirrors. These systems are not random. They are inherited technologies, refined for generations, that serve as direct telephone lines to the other side. When African ancestors speak, it is rarely for vanity. Their messages are often laced with urgency. They call for rituals to be done, land disputes to be resolved, oaths to be kept, or truths to be spoken. They may guide a lost child home, warn a family of danger, or even choose a successor for a lineage. To ignore the voice of the ancestor is to walk blindly into spiritual danger. But to hear them and act is to restore balance, heal wounds, and fulfill destiny.
In a world dominated by modern religions, fast technology, and globalized identities, one might think ancestral worship is fading into obscurity. But across Africa, and in the diaspora, the ancient bonds between the living and the dead remain unbroken. In fact, in many communities, ancestral reverence is resurging, reclaiming space after centuries of colonization, forced conversions, and cultural erasure. The spirits of the ancestors are not relics of the past, they are alive, adapting, and watching. In Nigeria, despite the spread of Christianity and Islam, millions still secretly or openly honor their ancestors. Even churchgoers might still pour libations at family gatherings or consult elders during times of crisis. Among the Yoruba, the sacred Egungun festivals continue to draw massive crowds, blending traditional belief with cultural celebration. In Ghana, ancestral stools are still brought out during funerals and festivals, and poured with schnapps to call on Nananam Samanfo. In South Africa, many Zulu, Xhosa, and Swana families still maintain Izinyanya altars, where the ancestors are fed, prayed to, and consulted. But this legacy isn't confined to Africa. In Brazil, Haiti, Cuba, and the Americas, African ancestral worship lives on in the blended spiritual systems of Candomblé, Vodou, and Santeria. Here, African spirits known as Orishas or Loa are venerated alongside Catholic saints, but the true heartbeat remains ancestral. In the United States and Europe, young black people are rediscovering their roots, holding ancestral altars in their apartments, learning about libation, and calling the names of those who were enslaved but never forgotten. Social media is filled with African descendants lighting candles, speaking to their grandmothers in spirit, and reconnecting with the ancient rites of their bloodlines. Technology has also become a tool for revival. From YouTube rituals to digital ancestral altars, a new generation is blending sacred tradition with modern access. Online platforms offer tutorials on ancestral offerings, Ifa readings, and shrine maintenance. Elders who once had only village apprentices now teach global students. The diaspora is no longer disconnected. And in this digital age, the ancestors are just one ritual away, called not just through drum and fire, but through phone screens and whispered names. Ancestral worship is not superstition, it is African psychology, philosophy, and spirituality wrapped into one. It teaches accountability, your ancestors watch. It teaches continuity, you are never alone. It teaches humility, one day, you too will be among the ancestors. In African thought, to live well is to earn the right to be remembered. And when you are remembered, you become powerful. Immortality is not in monuments or books, it is in memory, ritual, and legacy. So the next time a name is spoken at a family gathering, a libation is poured on the ground, or a dream leaves you breathless, pause. You may not be alone. You may be standing in the presence of the eternal. The African dead are not dead. They live in the trees, the wind, the bones, and the breath of the living. They are ancestors, and they are watching. Call their names. Honor your roots. Keep the fire of memory burning. Like this video if you believe the ancestors still walk with us. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of African spirituality and hidden history. And in the comments, drop the name of an ancestor you honor. Let's create a living wall of memory and respect. Because when we remember them, they live. And when we forget them, we lose a piece of ourselves. Tap the bell so you never miss a truth the world tried to bury.